I'm going to review the Marder II by Dragon, Panzerjäger II, with a Pak40. This is from 2006, and it is kit number 6262. There have been 3 that I know of, and the second version of this, because this was the initial tooling of it, the box didn't even look different, the font colors look different. So this was like a generic Marder II, and meaning that it didn't say what type it was. Then in 2013 came 6423, which is a mid Marder II. And then just a few months ago in March, I want to say, there was 6769 Marder II early. I can't really tell you a whole lot of differences in them visually. I mean, a Marder II-D was like a totally different vehicle with like a Russian gun, like a different superstructure, slightly and completely different running gear because it was a Panzer II-D. These guys look very similar to me. Maybe that's just my untrained eye, but I looked at the renders and maybe there's a little bit of difference. They were like newly tooled this on the new one, but I can't really tell you what's different. So, but let's have a look at this thing. Since this was initially tooled, I think it still may have used a lot of parts of Panzer IIs that were out at the time. There's some really nice Panzer II kits they have. So, all of their Panzer IIs, at least that I've had, and I've only had a few, have a full driver's compartment. And here we've got transmission and final drives and all the interior stuff apparently. Which in something as small as a Panzer II is a huge, daunting pain in the ass in my opinion. I don't look forward to it at all. I might even leave the driver's compartment stuff out because it's very, very difficult to see on something like a Marder. Magic tracks are the smallest ever. Now, you know that's not true anymore because I have Panzer I magic tracks, but still. There's a lot in this guy. So, yeah. That's an interesting decal sheet, though. Just every conceivable weight of Balkenkreuz. But I'll look at the actual stuff once I get into the instructions. I don't want to make too many guesses as to what I'm looking at. So, the instructions, not a lot blue, is what I'm noticing initially. Just a few guns, but their silhouettes look like a Sturmgewehr and something not commonly used by crews. It's pretty standard with initial toolings that you just don't get a lot of wasted stuff. Okay, so holy hell. Okay, right off the bat I'm seeing a ton of optional stuff. So we've got E6, E4, and E5, which all look like possible idlers, which can get combined with this one piece. That's a little intimidating. There's multiple drive sprockets. There's it telling me to bend things in step 1. Wow, this thing is intense, man. Doing the springs. Some really small fiddly stuff going on here. As long as it's done in plastic, I look forward to it. Some of the... I'm getting there with etch, but I'm not brilliant. That exhaust looks pretty intense too. Alright, so now wheels and springs should be on. I'm never making that mistake again. I've done it with a Panzer II, and these are very hard for me to paint, so that won't be the case with me. A lot of stuff I do not recognize at all here. Interior stuff. That looks like the floor of the driver's compartment. So here's your sticks, your seat. Transmission. Relatively reasonable part count, like enough to be complicated, but the 2 halves actually looks a little simplified. Yeah, I did this, well, I've only done this once on the Academy Tiger. I had a hell of a time. So once that transmission bit and the driver's seat, bits of this, then you're going on to the fenders and putting spare tracks in the front. Okay. Looks like some walls going on, some really abnormal for what I'm used to doing stuff here. Aha, tools, I recognize something. There's an MG34 mounted in the wall. This is starting to look familiar from like the Nashorn that I did. So these are the fighting compartment walls. This is interesting. A bunch of, like a multi-assembly thing, multi-piece. Very complex. And then apparently there are etch clamps for everything. Man, it's an intense kit. Radios going together. More tools, more etch. These little hangy periscopes, had a time with those in the Nashorn as well. Not sure what that thing is. Some MP40s in their little cases. These are separate pieces, by the way. You often see that molded as one. But look at that. That's a fantastic looking, it's out of shot now, but once it's together, that radio assembly is very cool looking. It's going to be very busy in there. I am honestly kind of floored by the complexity of the instructions here. So I just let you take that in. I'll try not to make commentary when I don't have anything useful to say, because otherwise I just go duh the whole time. That's not helpful. So, ammo storage and rounds. I believe these are all done in styrene, I think. Loving this. Different muzzle brake types for the Pak40. Some large toolbox kind of pieces of the hull stuff going on the back. MD1. Alright, so metal barrel perhaps? Yeah, I think I saw that. The gun assembly, I'm wondering how much it'll differ from things like the Nashorn. Looking very similar in here, but it is going to be smaller than 88, so it'd be kind of fiddly, this thing. Yeah, I mean, even just looking at this little sub part. Man, it's a busy gun build. There's the shield. And there's just final assembly going on. I'm taking this in. Hopefully I'm leaving it on screen long enough where you can look at it, since, again, I don't have a lot of expert commentary. I like these types of vehicles. I've only built the Nashorn, and the reason I buy these is so that I can learn about them and build them, and until I do, I don't always know so much. So there's the whole upper bit going on to the bottom bit. And that thing's going to be tiny, but so complex. Okay, marking options, unidentified, unidentified. Of course it is. Identified, aha! An actual unit in Tunisia. And then a Panzerjäger of Thailand on the Eastern Front. Starting off with the old school Dragon card. This is from 06, so it's got lots of cool stuff in it. I'd be curious actually to see the difference between the newer kits that came out like 2 years ago and this year, and this one, because this is the what I call a halcyon period of Dragon. So here we've got your metal Pak40 barrel, which is pretty sweet. Looks like a shovel cover type. Oops, sorry, right there. Some tiny PE bits. Mein Gott. And then I'm not going to rip that off, I'm going to bend it. Another sheet there, this is the exhaust. Some clear periscopes, lots of Balkenkreuz and a few numbers, some divisional markings. What's become a very standard MG34 sprue, PE clamp sprue, or sorry, fret, nothing but that, by the looks of it. Basically, German small arms, Sturmgewehr, MP40, is it a Gewehr 43? And then more decals, which look like ammo stuff, markings or things. There you go. And then the actual ones for this. Let's see how small that PE thing I was looking at is. It's tiny. Also taped to that were these magic tracks for Panzer II, which are hard to differentiate from each other in this bag. There's one. Very tiny. Not the smallest I've seen, but not something I look forward to doing, which sometimes I wonder how well I'll actually do with these, because I've got a number of Panzer II base vehicles, and 38Ts and Panzer Is. So, plastic. It's worth mentioning, again, all of these sprues were individually wrapped. Maybe that shouldn't please me as much as it does, but you just feel like you're not having that feeling that you get when they rip you off. So it becomes even like amplified when you see their old stuff. So here we have what look like the hull parts. That stuff is very crisp. These large pieces are. These look like ammo stowage here. Some nice detail on that guy too. Yeah, everything's really tight. Crisp, tight, clean, whatever you want to call it. Like those things. They're basically as good as it gets with Dragon. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of clue what I'm looking at most of the time. I'm pretty sure rounds go in there and that goes in the back of the hull. That's about what I got on that one. That is Pak40 gun parts. Oh, excellent. I actually, by the way, I like slide molded stuff enough that I don't really care about metal barrels. I'm always happy to have spares. So this is all gun elevation stuff. Man, it's really clean. Sort of gun cradle thing. I believe that's what that's called. Not that. There's the 3 muzzle brakes. Gun sleeve by the look of it. No, I don't know what that's. There's a slide molded barrel, which looks pretty good. So this is all gun stuff. Looking very, very good. Yeah, it's a Pak40 sprue. So that may have been from a kit, standalone kit. There's 2 of these. Panzer II suspension. There's your 3 alternate idler wheels. They obviously have different centers. This one's like pointy. This one's flat. This one has no bolts on it. I'm guessing that those are one of each of the type of drive sprockets. Some idlers. There's your road wheels. Continental is on there. Sorry, my camera does not have the fidelity to quite pick that up, but leaf springs. Everything looks really good. Now And we've got some Pak40 styrene ammo. And then these must be like the wicker stowage things for it, I can only assume. There's your rounds and there's your cases. The grain on there is pretty good. Check that out. I approve. The gun shield, I'm going to assume there's alternate versions of. Comes on a guy like this, not in a protected plastic thing, but there's a difference up here versus up there. So I'm guessing there's like a viewport that's different. There's rivets on one and there's not on the other. They could both be used for all I know, but I doubt it. There's some that have like a two-layered shield, but they're pretty thin. I don't know if it's considered razor edge or not. It's good. Then we've got a small tools with clamps, so that is an option. Very nice clamps too. Fire extinguisher, shovel, axe, inertial starter, these pickaxes. You don't see these much on anything other than these tank destroyers. This looks like some Panzer II interior parts. Sprue is listed as Marder II, so perhaps that was the origin of these interior bits. I got a little bendy piece here. Come on, man. Yeah, I'll leave him. He's okay. Some really small stuff. That looks like the engine or transmission. Transmission. Silly. There's the exhaust. I recognize that thing. And this looks like more sort of gun shield looking stuff. Pretty strange the way that is. That's the travel lock. Tiny, tiny parts, but all very, very crisp. Last big one, main hull parts, upper hull, fighting compartment walls. By the look of it, the floor of the thing. Some real busy stuff going on there. Interesting. Anti-slip looks good. Isn't really reading on camera, but it does look pretty good. See if I can catch it. There's the actual upper hull itself. There's diamond plate on there. Not a lot of parts on here. Everything looks good though. There's no ejection pin marks that I can see on the inside of the fighting compartment walls, which is very, very good. Not a lot left. We've got tools without clamps. Looks like the exact same sprue, but without clamps. These fire extinguishers look pretty dull without stuff on them. There's this tiny little guy, which is just a headlight in a bag. I do like my headlights with conduit. Dragon normally does that. I don't know if this one does though. And then we got our hull tub. Slightly modified Panzer II tub. The other ones I have like a smooth rounded bit here. It seems very, very stiff and solid for something so small. So that's all that's in there. It doesn't seem like a lot, but what is in there is dense and very, very like crisp and intimidating to me. My suggestion, though, and I don't normally make recommendations of any kind, apart from certain Tiger kits, is that if you're going to buy a Marder II, get the old one off eBay. Because I'm going to guess that the new ones don't have metal stuff, and quite as much fun things. I don't know that they make Panzer II DS yet, luckily, so that might not be a concern, but this goes pretty cheap. Very cheap, actually. I've seen it for like 25. And it's from the good times. It's got metal parts and magic tracks. It's very good. I am a little intimidated by it, but it is quite a sweet kit.